Fala alguma coisa.
We'd like to take some time to remember our friends who were lost in the Battle of Winterfell, and, in particular, commemorate the Lady of House Mormont, Lyanna, the little she-bear. We all know and loved Lyanna. We knew her from the books for her stern letter sent to Stannis when he was attempting to gather Northmen to his cause. House Mormont knows no king but the king in the north, whose name is Stark. Lyanna was just a girl of 12, but after her mother and sisters left to fight in King Robb's war, she was left to rule her house. In the books, Mage Mormont, Lyanna's mother, was last seen traveling to the Neck to attempt to deliver Robb's will to the Reeds at Greywater Watch. She has her 2 daughters, Lyra and Jorel, traveling with her, and she was sent on a Mallister ship towards the Neck back in A Storm of Swords, but we haven't seen her since. Her eldest daughter and heir, Dacey, was killed at the Red Wedding. The current heir is Alysanne, who led an attack on Deepwood Motte against the Ironborn, who invaded the castle while the men were away. The Mormonts were successful and held the castle until Stannis' men came and finished the Ironborn off in the outer forest. Stannis took Asha Greyjoy prisoner, and Alysanne is basically her chief overseer while they are en route to Winterfell. Alysanne is also the mother of a 9-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old son, though only in her early 20s. She is also unmarried and does not name the father of her children. Little Lyanna has been acting as the lady of the house for some time, which is a lot of pressure. We know she can handle it with ferocity and keep her loyalties to House Stark and the King in the North under pressure. She is brave and well-trained, and she is fully confident in her men. When Jon and Sansa come to her for help to retake Winterfell, she answers the call and sends the 62 men she has left to fight in the Battle of the Bastards. Bella Ramsey, the actress who plays Lyanna Mormont, was only supposed to feature in this one scene, but she was so well received they wrote her into several more scenes as the Starks' most staunch bannermen. The Mormonts are the first northern house to answer the call, and Lyanna does not fail to remind the other lords of this when she gets the chance. She proudly attends Jon and Sansa as one of their closest confidants, despite her young age. When Jon is called as King in the North, she wholeheartedly supports this choice. When Jon leaves Winterfell, when called to Dragonstone by Daenerys Targaryen, the Northern Lords are wary of this, seeing how the last meeting of a Stark and Targaryen went, being Rickard and Brandon Stark meeting the Mad King, who murdered them horrifically. When Jon returns to Winterfell after fighting beyond the wall, and brings back Daenerys and her dragons, the Northern Lords are not entirely happy their king bent the knee and gave up his crown they had just bestowed upon him. Lyanna Mormont does not fail to voice her displeasure and concern at his choice. Jon insists the Great War is what is important, and that is what is focused upon. The Mormont fighting men are few, but they are great and fierce fighters, as proven in the Battle of the Bastards. They are placed to guard the inner walls of Winterfell during the battle, to cover a retreat or invasion within the walls. Lyanna insists she will fight, though in the show, it's portrayed that she and Jorah are the only remaining members in the family. Jorah tries to convince her to protect their house by going down to the crypts, but she will stand with her men and fight. During the battle, of course, the gate is breached and the enemy storms the castle, and though she fights until the end, she is killed. Jorah is also killed, and thus ends House Mormont as we know it. One of the biggest things speculated upon in the series is House Mormont. We have so many unanswered questions about them. Are they First Men or Andals? How did they get their Valyrian steel sword? And my personal favorite question, who is the father of the Mormont girls? Mage Mormont has 5 daughters but no husband. She is sister to Giantsbane Mormont, the old bear, who was in the Night's Watch for at least 20 years. His son Jorah was exiled for selling slavers, and Mage was left as lady of their house. She has 5 daughters, seemingly after she had become lady, but never took a husband. This is interesting because all of her daughters are legitimate, not considered bastards. But we have no record of who their father might be. He was not a lord of another house or a commoner from Bear Island. There's literally no mention of him at all. The women of Bear Island are fierce. They have learned to fight because Bear Island has been raided by Ironborn for hundreds of years. When the men of the island would leave to fish, raiders would come in and take the women and children and burn their villages, so the women had to learn to fight. On the doors of the Great Hall on Bear Island is a carving of a woman holding a suckling babe in one arm and a battle axe in the other. The women of this land are strong and fierce and live up to their mother bear representation. It is also said they are skin changers and can warg into a bear to find a mate. They say their children are fathered upon by bears, and thus it seems they do not need to provide any excuse or reason to legitimize their children. They are Mormont on their mother's side, and that's what matters. You are wed. No, my children were fathered by a bear. Mormont women are skin changers. We turn into bears and find mates in the woods. Everyone knows. Mormont women are all fighters, too. What we are is what you made us. On Bear Island, every child learns to fear krakens rising from the sea. One of the very best characters in the story is Tormund. He is lovable, loud, friendly, and accepting to Jon, even protective over him. There is much to speculate over him as well, as he has a myriad of names. Mance Rayder laughed. As you wish. Jon Snow, before you stands Tormund Giantsbane, tall talker, horn blower, and breaker of ice. And here also Tormund Thunderfist, husband to bears, the Mead King of Ruddy Hall, speaker to gods and father of hosts. That sounds more like me, said Tormund. Well met, Jon Snow. I am fond of wargs, as it happens, though not a Starks. Tormund becomes very involved in the story and is known for having 4 sons and 1 daughter north of the Wall. He is known for his crazy stories that make you laugh but leave you wondering if there's any truth to it or just a tall tale. To hear a preview of one of his better stories, check out our Giant's Milk video, linked below. It explains why he is called Giantsbane. One of his many nicknames is Husband to Bears. We are given reason to a lot of his nicknames and titles, and this story doesn't fail to impress. Well, here's a tale for ya. It were another winter, colder even than the one I spent inside that giant, and snowing day and night, snowflakes so big as your head, not these little things. It snowed so hard the whole village was half buried. I was in me ruddy hall, with only a cask of mead to keep me company and nothing to do but drink it. The more I drank, the more I got to thinking about this woman lived close by. A fine, strong woman with the biggest pair of teats you ever saw. She had a temper on her, that one, but oh, she could be warm too. And in the deeper winter, a man needs his warmth. The more I drank, the more I thought about her, and the more I thought, the harder me member got, till I couldn't suffer it no more. Fool that I was, I bundled myself up in me furs from head to heels, wrapped in a winding wool around me face, and set off to go find her. The snow was coming down so hard, I got turned around once or twice, but the wind blew right through me and froze me bones. But finally, I come upon her, all bundled up like I was. The woman had a terrible temper, and she put up quite the fight when I laid hands on her. It was all I could do to carry her home and get her out of them furs, but when I did, oh, she was even hotter than I remembered, and we had a fine old time, and then I went to sleep. Next morning when I woke, the snow had stopped and the sun was shining, but I was in no fit state to enjoy it. All ripped and torn I was, and half me member bit right off, and there, on me floor, was a she-bear's pelt. And soon enough, the free folk were telling tales of this bald bear seen in the woods with the queerest pair of cubs behind her. Ha! Would that I could find her again. She was fine to lay with, that bear. Never was a woman gave me such a fight, nor such strong sons neither. Tormund is constantly associated with mating beasts, she-bears, and wargs. Tormund gave a shrug, as if to say he would never understand such madness. Well, you are a free man now, but if you will not have the girl, best find yourself a she-bear. If a man does not use his member, it grows smaller and smaller, until one day he wants to piss and cannot find it. Small wonders that the Seven Kingdoms thought the free folk scarcely human. They have no laws, no honor, not even simple decency. They steal endlessly from each other, breed like beasts, prefer rape to marriage, and fill the world with base-born children. Yet he was growing fond of Tormund Giantsbane, great bag of wind and lies though he was. These are wildlings, savages, raiders, rapers, more beast than man. Tormund is none of those things, no more than Mance Raider. I think we can draw enough conclusions to assume that Tormund might just be the father of Mage's daughters. Bear Island is very close to the western shore of the Wall. The Shadow Tower leads up to the Milkwater at the Gorge, a river which flows down to the Bay of Ice, where you could just sail down to Bear Island as your first stop. It would be accessible to an experienced raider like Tormund. Little Lyanna Mormont stood her ground when the gates burst open from a whited giant in Winterfell. She was knocked aside, and momentarily I thought we were going to get a nod at one smashing a body against the walls. But shortly after, our fierce little bear takes on the giant. She rose up, screaming, and charges at him. He grabbed her tiny body, lifted her up to eat her, it looked like, and we hear her bones cracking and crushing. But just before the life could leave her, she raised up a dragonglass spear and stabbed him through the eye. A little Giantsbane, and I believe a nod to the idea of Tormund being her father. You're a good man, Tormund Giants, babe, for a wildling. Better than most might be, not so good as some. One of the most beautiful things about House Mormont is their sigil, a bear. Bears are symbolic of protection and sacrifice. They are the lords of the forest, not as hunters but as protectors of all living creatures. They are often seen as great warriors or celebrated characters who inevitably die in a heroic and dedicated manner. If you consider the positions of each of the Mormonts and who they are near, it fits quite well with the symbolic trope. Jorah Mormont is a protector of the dragon. Jeora Mormont is a protector of the dire wolf, the crows, and the ravens. Lyanna Mormont is also a protector of the dire wolf. Alysanne Mormont is a guard of the kraken, and she is combating with the flaming heart stag of Stannis. And Mage, Lyra, and Jarell, if they are still alive, are traveling to Howland Reed in the name of the direwolf, even long after Robb's death. The bears are protecting all the creatures of the forest in our story. The Mormonts are all over the place, but in trusted positions of power of key characters. It provides beautiful symbolic reason behind why the Mormonts are so present and key throughout the story. George R.R. Martin is obviously using their sigil as a means to feed the story a powerful and meaningful character trope throughout their family, but also as a tool to immerse minor familiar characters within several storylines. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you all in the next one. Valor Margulis.